Welcome to the Motivation Without the Hype podcast with your host, Gez Perez. He's an author, high-performance coach, and motivational speaker. This show brings you inspiring messages and interviews to unleash your greatness in life and in business. So let's get started.
Hi everyone, welcome to Motivation Without the Hype podcast show. My name is Gez Perez, a former procrastinator into an action taker. We bring you inspirational messages and interviews, including motivational insights, tips, principles, and proven strategies that you can take action without the hype in unleashing your greatness in life and in business. We appreciate you plugging in and spending time with us, and we have a very special guest. I'm super grateful to have him on our show. His name is Chris Schwager. That's right, Swagger with an S. He is an inbound video marketing specialist for Google's highest rated video company in Australia and youngest of 8 children. He has 20 plus year history as a video director, scriptwriter, and presenter, as well as a regular podcast host and video coach. Chris is on a mission to change how corporate organizations, government, and small businesses use DIY, which is do it your own, and professional videos to improve communication, leads, and sales. Guys, I had the pleasure and, meeting Chris. He's a phenomenal human being. So Chris, thank you so much for joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen, I met this guy, and I just love the surname Swagger. It just says it all. He did a virtual live event at Growth Generation, and immediately I knew that Chris is the real deal when it comes to video. So Chris, welcome to the show. Please tell us about yourself and what you do.
Thanks, Gez. Yeah, we're here,
That's
man.
right.
We're amping it up. I listened to your podcast. I got a feel for it. I was like, oh my God, this guy's revved, man. He's revved. He's the real
You're
deal.
the real deal.
So I'm going to come along for the ride. So, Gez,
Yes, sir.
youngest of 8 children, I had a fondness for video at a very early age. And it was a bit of a key to getting further attention, because I had a burning desire to constantly seek attention as a very young adult, particularly the attention of my parents, who were preoccupied with 7 other children. But it was a very big ego that I carried through my younger years and started the career of video. Wedding at the age of 14, school videos at the age of 18, and I had a real thing for it, and I started doing short films, and I knew that if I continued doing short films that it was going to be a pretty heavy meal ticket. I wasn't going to actually make a living. So I asked my parents for some money. I asked my mum for some money. My dad, I asked her for $20,000 back in the early 90s, and that was intercepted swiftly by my dad, who said, "You're kidding yourself." And so my relationship with money was very skewed at that point. I went off and did my own creative stuff for a long while. I worked on feature films. I worked in documentaries and directed short films and tried to fund that lifestyle with weddings and whatever else I could get my hands on. And by 2002, started Ridge Films with a good business partner of mine, Brennan Southall, who at the time was also doing weddings. So he was kind of on his own journey. And it took very little convincing this is where I realized I had some kind of sales knack. That I convinced him. I went over and said, "Mate, what are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, making weddings." And I'm like, "Why don't you just come over and let's start a thing together?" And he's like, "Oh, okay then." So he literally shut his company down and kicked off Ridge Films. And so at that stage, we were a partnership of 3. And so my next test in the world of business was kerfuffling with a third partner that by year 2 tried to sink us and take off and take us to court and everything else. And we were very lucky at that point to survive that. But all of a sudden we fell into running a business, and we really believed that we were just creatives and that we were going to be able to do our creative thing forever while still running a company. And the third business partner was going to be the business operator. That was how we thought back then. It was like the most ridiculous idea, but we really believed it for many years. That if we build it, if we're creative enough, that people will just arrive at the door and pay us lots of money. And that's the way we ran. And I listened to something this morning. It was around 10,000 hours in building your craft and all that. And I think I've worked out that it's actually taken 20,000 hours. And because the first 10 were a write-off, because I absolutely had no freaking idea what the hell I was doing. So for 12 years, and by the way, we survived the GFC in that time. I don't know how we did that. I actually recall one person coming up to the studio because we had a 220 square meter big empty office with like two of us. And people were walking in, seeing this massive empty office in the middle of the GFC and giving us their precious VHS tapes to duplicate to DVD, and then going, you know what? I think we'll leave it for now. And it was like that was like the lowest of the lowest, the most demoralising bloody time in our life. Going, what in the hell are we doing? We hadn't a clue, and yet companies were trusting us to make their corporate videos. And the only thing I can come to the conclusion on that was that, these companies were as naive as we were in business, and we were kind of going on that journey together. And so, fortunately, we were able to gravitate into the business community and actually start to realise what being creative and running a business together in collaboration is all about. And so, that kind of takes us to today.
So how did you pivot in a way where, I can tell that, most videographers, right, they start with weddings and they start with the little things. But during the course of time, how did you able to, because obviously you've got a creative mindset. At the same token, you need to have that business mindset as well to run an actual company. How did you incorporate both creative and business? Because, most people tend to think, okay, I'm sticking to the creatives and then you can focus on the business. But how did you able to incorporate the both and able to still move forward?
Yeah, so we separated ourselves into certain areas. So Brennan and I stopped doing the same thing.
Okay.
Was probably the earliest thing. So he got out of creative and he went into business. So he's the project manager, business dude. He's like the CFO. He's the running. He's responsible for a lot of the administrative style stuff, and then I run a lot of the creative stuff, which is virtually everything in creative. Wow. And that's been a lot of the way we've had our business for a long time, hiring contractors as we need them, but it's pretty much us doing the entire thing. And it's impossible to grow when you are literally handcuffed to all of these multitude of tasks that it takes to create a video. Anyone that's done a professional video would realize there's so many tiers to creating a video. It's not just switching on the camera and hoping for the best. And so the migration of creativity was basically putting our hand up and realizing that our shit does stink. that we actually need help, and for us to be vulnerable enough to admit that we can't go it alone any longer. The pain got great enough. The growth was debilitating. The amount of tasks and inability to prioritize those tasks was so great that it forced us to seek help. And we originally sought help by way of networking events. BNI was a big catalyst for us getting into the business community, and then from there it became about business coaches and lawyers and finance and marketing and everybody in the marketing services that were able to support us. And when you're part of a business community, it becomes a real asset to have people around you that can point you and help you in the right direction and steer your ship effectively. And it comes down to business coaches is very much a part of that steering, to the point where now we're five of us, and we're actively growing the business, not based on anomalies like a New South Wales police force or a big corporate enterprise company to like give us a great month type thing. This is a lot of blood, sweat and tears around the sales, marketing, finance activity of the business that is giving us sustainable growth, which is exciting.
Yeah. How did you streamline those processes? Because, you said there's a lot of tasks, and, it's not just picking up a video and then you record it. There's so much input into a video that requires creativity, requires editing, requires a lot of strategies behind that. It's not just, yep, we'll whip out a video, but it's so strategic because you're speaking to the audience as well. How did you streamline those processes when you know it's task-driven?
We believed right from the start that this could be McDonald's. That this could be a burger, fries, and the drink type of a menu of videos. And it's just trying to isolate one thing at a time, work on it, build it. And so we productized. We were, in fact, really what we believed, and I don't know if this is true, but we had productized over 30 videos to the point where we knew exactly how long it would take, who it was for, what it was going to do for business, what it took to build, and the price, everything that you would have in a normal product. And then it was about, right, how do people consume these products? Like, on what basis are they needing these particular products? And it's not governed by creativity. It was never governed by creativity. It was never governed by deciding on a whim. Oh, I'm instinctively saying we should have a company testimonial video. We should have a company. It was based on what problem does the business face, or the challenge they face in either their sales, their marketing, or in broader brand issues that warrants a particular video. And really, based on what we discover out of their problems and need for video, would then warrant what type of product would be associated with that. So, for instance, company profile videos, personal profile videos, story times for us. These are products that we commonly refer to.
Website. You've got tons. You also have, do your own. But I love the products. I mean, like, you've got company profile, you've got personal branding, virtual events, do your own case studies. These are actually great. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't been to their website, you've got to check it out, ridgefilms.com.au. Awesome stuff there. You can learn so much things in what they actually do. So, yeah, Ridge Films, that's awesome.
And it's all what people don't fully understand, and maybe marketers probably more so, would be that those products actually align to the buyer's journey. So the stuff I was talking about is awareness content, and then you've got a 60% product range of education content, and then you've got a remaining product offering of company testimonials, case study videos, service testimonials, all that stuff that is converting people's opinion and really kind of getting them across the line in terms of convincing and converting.
That's awesome. We all know that video is really important to any business. What's your take towards sales and marketing and how crucial that is? Because I've seen so many businesses that they do have, company profile, but they're not converting. It's like having a website, but you're not converting that into sales. They're like, yep, it's static. There's nothing making money out of it. What do you see in businesses nowadays? And what are the trends and what you're trying to convey, that message of conversion towards videos for businesses?
Well, our business has always been based on humanization and personalization. We are a big believer that businesses or consumers read less than they would rather watch. So in terms of 70% of potential buyers are wanting the video. They are wanting it in a consumable, short, sharp way that is quick and easy for the people to understand, rather than reading a whole web page full of text or scouring through, trying to disseminate the bloody, the kind of sloppy order of messaging that I think most businesses fail at. They really do fail at trying to get clarity around their message. And so when productizing, it was all about making sure that the people were first. Now, that's not, professional presenters. We're taking ordinary people who probably would never appear on camera and putting them out in front, training them up, helping write their script with them, get in front of camera in the studio, and nurturing them through this process so that by the time they get their video to market, it's them doing it in an authentic, real, personalized way and making real human connections with people. Now, you could argue that one video is not going to solve the marketing or sales challenges of business, and we're a big believer that is a multiple video assets, as we like to call them, that are going to be what drives people closer and closer to any decision. Now, that's, you can see, is happening on social media already, and we're a big believer that there's no reason why it shouldn't be happening on the website too. I think there's been an overly excited audience that are going, oh, if you don't have a Facebook account, you're nothing, you know, or whatever. And it's like, it's all about social. And it's like, yeah, but it's great that social's there. But when they get to your website and your website sucks, that's where the conversation ends. And we think that there should be a whole nurturing mechanism on websites that we just don't see as being there. We see businesses as really underutilizing their website. Like, they are just reliant on just like chucking something up and going, oh, but it doesn't convert. We don't get any leads from the website. It's like, yeah, because it sucks, and you're really not getting any real idea of how to compose and how to audit a proper, you know, landing page, for instance, and actually have it convert. And we think that's a really big missed opportunity. The focus is all on social, and, you know, it's not where you could really do it in a very cost effective way and actually convert people.
I mean, you probably cringe, but what do you see those things that are lacking in a business when it comes to videos?
Education, understanding, slowing down, making informed decisions about videos rather than just switching on the camera. Oh, we'll give it a go. You know, let's do our own thing. And, you know, we'll buy a ring light and a DSLR, and all of our video marketing, you know, concerns will be answered. You know, and what we teach in our video marketing workshop is like, you know, this is, you know, when you talk about the things that people think about, switching on the camera lights, the sound, how to shoot a lot, edit, and all that type of stuff. It's one of 7 major stages in the video marketing process. And so they're missing 6 other as equally important, if not more important, steps to making video work for their business.
Do you teach that process, that 7-step process that you just mentioned then?
Yes, we do. Okay. Yeah. And it's so important, and we've been doing it for many, many years. And, you know, it's fundamental in getting clear on that first before you do anything with video. Otherwise, you are really going to struggle to get consistency, get a process that works, and to still have videos that don't suck.
Yeah. So if a client wants to jump on board with Ridge Films, what is the process that you normally take your client?
Okay, well, here's a really good example that you and your audience can take away today that is the best utilization of video that we have right now. It's called a inquiry reply video. And you won't see it on the website. I'm going to talk you through it, and hopefully it'll give you some clarity. Now, you might be a business that doesn't have the same kind of steps as we do in terms of our sales process, and you might be low transactional, you might be, you know, B2C. So this may not apply to you, but here it's a really great idea anyway. You could probably go and do a spin on. So when we get an inquiry, it's always via email, whether that's through a phone call, through our website or other means, but it comes through as an email. And as soon as I can, I reply to that email with an email with a personalised video inside it from me. It's about 30 seconds long. That tells them, well, gives their name, their company, a little bit of the inquiry. That's all included in the personalisation, along with, I'm a bit busy right now, I'm about to go into a meeting, but I've included a booking meeting link in this email. Go ahead, book in at a time that's both convenient for you and me. Now, that process of not just hastily, reactively picking up the phone and calling and wasting time, you know, right there and then, and converting that into a manageable process where they go and book in without me is a game changer for our business. And what it does is builds a lot of confidence that because we're a video company responding as video in a really professional, slick way, that immediately we are winning. We are out competing on response time, on personalization, on being organized, and fundamentally it's just process. We are winning on process where other guys are going, oh, we'll respond within 48 hours or don't respond at all or whatever they're doing out there. It's a shocker, right? And so we just think that that's a great front-end sales tactic that nobody would know about, but is a game changer in terms of converting leads early. And even if it is a long sales process, you've got a really great starting point where you've built so much confidence and rapport.
I think the value that resonates to what I'm hearing now is the humanization, personalization. It's that human touch. Now, you probably record it, send it, but it's that human element that they don't treat it as a transaction. They treat it as a transition of relationship, and I think that's awesome. I never heard it before. I've seen it, but what you're doing is you're a game changer. I mean, like, if I had a personalized email that has a video, I'm like, oh man, this is next level ninja stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's like, wow, he does care. And even though it's part of the process, I believe that outcomes and structures create results, right? If you have an outcome and you have a structure around it, it will create some results for that. And I can see that process just from what you're saying. So in terms of that, have you got any feedback just by that little messages that you send out to your clients?
Oh, 100%, all the time. All the time.
Wow.
We get it. And people, you know, the result is, the proof is in the result, is in people booking. That's when I know that I can keep doing this indiscriminately. So it could be Jenny, the assistant to the assistant, that, you know, it looks like nothing and nobody that puts in some really loose inquiry. And I just think, this is just a waste of my time. However, I give it the energy. I put 5 minutes in. It's not long. It doesn't take me long, but it is the expertise behind the process that is giving us leverage to be able to do it at that speed. But it's often, you know, Jenny ends up being the key to bringing this up the chain to the decision maker. And so for that reason, I don't discriminate based on what I see, unless it's someone looking for a wedding company. I go for it and see what comes of it. You know, it's 5 minutes of my time. I haven't had to pick up the phone and, like, you know, go through the whole process with somebody that's not even the decision maker. I just wait and get the right person involved. And so there's that one, but I also wanted to mention the proposal walkthrough. That has been the biggest reaction. So the proposal walkthrough is effectively, instead of sending the proposal in an email and going, you know, waiting for their reply 5 days later or whatever, you're actually sending it with a video included. And you're actually walking through the proposal and giving reason to why it's structured in the way that it is and why it's priced the way it is, and basically helping them through it, because often, maybe 50% of the time of our clients are not the decision maker, and they need to be able to put it all in front of their boss and effectively pitch it, right? Yeah. So we've had $1 billion company where we've done this, and included in the video what we've said is, we know you're not the decision maker, but we want you to show this to Mark. We know Mark's going to be looking at this, so show this to Mark. And she's done exactly what we asked. She showed it. She watched the video. She showed the video to Mark, and Mark signed off. And what we didn't anticipate, we knew all of this because they gave us the feedback, but what we didn't anticipate, that the 10 people that were involved in the project also saw the video, because it was effectively a walkthrough of the scope of the project. And so they got to see the whole thing as well. I was like, wow, that's an added bonus. We didn't even know that was going to be a thing. So, but it converts, because we are nurturing, because we are humanizing, and like you said, because we're not we're not treating them as a number. We're just putting a little bit more care and love and effort and attention into this process, because we want to grow the business. We want to win jobs. We're not sitting back, folding our arms and going, waiting for the thing and just, it's a numbers game, you know, put it all out there and see what comes of it. Like, we want to convert. We want people to come and do business with us. And more so, like, when you chew your own dog food like we are, people get to see it straight away, what they could do for their business. You know, it's like when I do my first video call, for instance, I'm doing it with the DIY desktop studio.
Yeah.
People look at it and go, "Why do you look so good?" And it's like, well, because this is the DIY desktop studio, and I can flick to Dcam over here and show them the whole thing. And they get exposure to this kind of new world, if you like, right from the start. It's not just some monkey videographer company. You know, this is what we believe has been the future, and COVID was only it was just it was a gift for us to start to drive a lot more energy into this personalization, because we knew that there was a stifling of sales activity. People are being, cut off from potential clients because they just couldn't physically be there. And now video is going to open up all this opportunity. And we just saw so much increase. There's a synchronous increase of 55% in terms of video calls, and pre-recorded videos, or like on-demand videos, was increasing to 80%. Wow. And so there was a lift there's so much of a lift, and yet the quality didn't rise, in that time. And here is this proposition of going, hey, you can have like TV grade quality video calls, from your desk consistently. And blow out bloody NBC and all of these other live crosses that look like crap. So that's the DIY program. If you're also on the whipribfilms.com.au/DIY, we'll give you a bit of a look at that.
Do you get a lot of that, clients coming into do it your own type of process of setting up their own videos? Yeah,
well, COVID opened up a doorway for us because we had the maturity to say, right, we understand that the iPhone is our greatest competition, so let's get over that straight away. And then we started to understand that the world of DIY wasn't going to ever go away. Yeah. People, whether we like it or not, were going to embrace it in some way, and we needed to be there and nurture that and foster that as much as we could. And so what we looked at is focused on the pain points of DIY, and they were, well, because someone buys a ring light and a DSLR, that they think they're going to be able to just do this automatically. And it's kind of like podcasting, right? They buy a podcast, they buy the mic, they get an overly complex recorder, and then all of a sudden it's just too hard for them. And so we knew that at some point it would be too hard, because what they would make up in equipment, they lack in process.
Absolutely.
They lack in
100%.
Being consistent. They lack in their understanding, their self-confidence, their messaging. All these things they just sucked at. And the realization is, hey, this is not as easy as it seems. Yeah. Shall I go on?
Yeah, go for it. I'm just mesmerized by your wisdom. I think you've got so much experience, and you see it day in, day out, where businesses are kind of like struggling, have their challenges, but you're able to provide that humanization, personalization. And I think walking through the process with them, I think so many times I've seen where businesses, they say, yep, here it is. They just whip up something, but there's no care factor through the whole entire thing. I think the proposal walkthrough, that is a game changer. I mean, we can do that through face-to-face, but doing that on video, that's next level. So it's the future, man. Yes, the future. So if someone who's actually a noob in this type of setup, what is your 3 tips to get them started?
Well, if it's 3 tips in getting started in the world of professional video marketing, can I just clarify that? Yeah, cool. Yeah, so, if they've got $1,500 in their pocket and they're open to ideas, then I would fondly suggest that they invest in what's called a personal profile video. It's a entry-level product that we have and have been running it for many years, and it opens up people's understanding about the world of video marketing. Wow. So they get access to an hour of scripting, 90 minutes of on-camera training, one-on-one in a professional studio with sound, lighting, teleprompter, the entire thing.
Oh, caboodle.
They get the video recorded for an hour, including makeup. Wow. They get the editing. They get the finished video implemented into their website and across all of their channels, and they get to measure the results of that video. And that's a huge amount of value as far as we're concerned. It's a 30-second video, 90 words. There's no bells and whistles. We're not going to fly a bloody drone over your property for that price. But we do give you access to this kind of this idea of humanizing. For instance, I have an example in our workshop that I run, and it's a little bookkeeper from Kensington who was like sucked at getting clarity on her message. She'd go into a networking environment and she'd tell somebody all about her bookkeeping skills for 5 minutes, and they would just walk away confused, right? And so she did a personal profile video, and after she went through it, she got real clarity. In 30 seconds, she was able to do what was taking her 5 minutes with a whole bunch of confusion. 30 seconds is all it took to get her message across. And she used it in LinkedIn. She used it on her About page, her home page, her email signature, everywhere. She put it out there, right? And finally, she had people coming up to her saying, Pat, I've known you for 5 years, and it's only now that I understand what it is that you do.
Wow.
Because they watched this video.
That's powerful.
If you confuse, you lose. And we believe that most businesses confuse. Yeah. So it's just... you look at any site. I would argue you pull up any website without the not taking into the likes of Amazon and all your big players, right? But any small to medium sized business, and you tell me whether you're clear on exactly what they do before you have to scroll. And if you're not,
You lose.
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
If you can't move down that page and get complete clarity, you'll realise that the Australian market is in dire straits when it comes to messaging.
Wow. That's awesome.
And so instead of us saying, hey, let's overhaul your entire marketing, what we can do is actually find value of your business in video. It can be a company profile. You don't have to do anything to your website. You just put the video top and center in there, and then that's where people will gravitate. They'll click the play button because that's the most compelling call to action. You don't need to say anything. And all of a sudden, you've got a point of difference.
Guys, I'm speechless at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. I've just been blown away with such great value from Chris. Chris, I always ask this question to every guest that's on the show. What is your meaning?
Don't ask it. Don't you dare ask it. I'm stopping you. This is the most evil question that's been haunting me for about 2 weeks now. I'm going, I don't know how to answer this question. What's he mean? Motivation?
Yeah. Well, what's your perspective? What's your perspective about motivation?
I've had to break it apart.
Really?
I've had to look at motivation and I've had to look at hype.
Okay, no hype.
And I was thinking about the hype. I was thinking about this. I was like, all right, what's motivation? And it's what I realized was motivation for me was kind of like, motivation comes under things like rituals. It comes under habits. You know what I mean? And those are the types of things that we commonly talk about. Because as far as I'm concerned, motivation, my daughters would need to be motivated to tidy their room or to do something, right? So it's kind of a fairly low term title, and that's kind of where I got it. Because we're so accustomed now to talking about rituals, benefits, habits, things that are long term, if you like, that are really changing the way that we live our lives and changing the way that we run our business. And then, so let's park that for a second and go over to with the hype, without the hype. So the hype for me is actually like the reward. So the hype is like saying, if you don't reward yourself from time to time and actually get some excitement, then I think you're downplaying what you're here to do. I think it's important that you get excited by things, that you vocalize those, that you tell people about it, that you pat yourself on the back and look at the achievements that you've had. So in putting now those two together, for me, it's kind of like I just go. It's kind of like the equivalent of saying, if you have the tenacity to go through that ritual, to go through and create that habit, then you should reward yourself. You should, get excited by it, and because I think on that basis you are pointing yourself in the right direction. I think
how do
that's
you reward yourself?
Fancy blonde haircuts.
I know. I noticed the hair kind of changed. Look pretty cool in that.
Thank you, mate. Jump out of a plane, go for an ice bathing retreat, drive around electric cars, and, bloody go out and get on the piss, go for a pub crawl around, whatever, for us, it's, we're constantly looking at ways to consciously make sure that there is something in there that reminds us of where we were and what we are achieving on a monthly, quarterly, yearly basis. Wow. I think we have to really don't underestimate what we have accumulated in knowledge now, and our biggest challenge is how to scale that and offload a lot of the tasks that have been really bogging us down for so many years. And, the maturity of our business now is at a point where we see the future for us being able to work when we want and to get that flexibility back into our lives.
Chris, first I want to say thank you. I want to acknowledge you.
You're welcome.
For your time with us, and also your wisdom and such value content that you just provided just in this episode alone. Guys, if you're listening and watching this podcast, you got to rewind. There's so much nuggets, and it's just broken down into bits and pieces that you just got to take action on. If you want to get in touch with Chris and get connected with him, I highly suggest that you check out our podcast show notes. It's got all the provided links. Chris, thank you so much for your time. And if this episode has been helpful and uplifting, we'd love for you to write a review to inspire more listeners to get plugged in. We will continue to provide high-value content in each or every episode. If you don't mind sharing this podcast show on social media by inviting others, it will mean the world to me. Every time you tag me, we will get the opportunity to share those posts, and together, I say it again, together, we can make a difference in the lives of others through inspirational episodes just like this. So there you have it. In closing, continue to unleash your greatness and tell yourself that I can, I will, and I must, and we'll see you on the next episode.